Hello, my dearly beloved people. How are you? Once again, this is Family Matters. It's my humble self, Nkichionyeka. And one of the goals of Family Matters is, like I've always said, is to um, bring back the original patterns of God in the family. Recently, I've been all about the family being the representation of the Garden of Eden, but that's not what we see. Why is that? It's the same God. He hasn't changed. The same God who created Adam and Eve and created the garden and put them in the garden is the same God that instituted your marriage. It's the same God that created your husband and you and brought you two together to form a home. So why will your home not be a representation of the Garden of Eden? Where is the distortion from? Why do we not see homes as Garden of Edens in our time? I know that we've been as believers, one of the things I know that as Christians is that we are ambassadors of Christ. So when I see a Christian or a believer and I picture an ambassador, I would want to think of ambassadors of maybe an ambassador of America that lives in Nigeria and what kind of life is living, that sort of thing. And I always see that there's a distortion somewhere. And so many times I've had these thoughts, where is this distortion from? The last couple of times we were here, we looked about faith, the origin of faith. And in as much as faith is so important, as a matter of fact, faith is the language of the Spirit. Why our faith in God is so important is because that is how we were made in the first place. When Adam communicated with God, perception and faith was the language. And so that is why Adam would name a thing and it would be exactly what God had in mind. It was the language of the Spirit, not his faith. The communication pattern between God and Adam was faith. But when man fell, one of the characteristics of the fallen nature of man is that the eye of the flesh is opened. I remember we talked about this in great depth in the last, I think in that podcast, how that the eye of the flesh was now opened, and that's why Adam could now see himself for how he looked. He could see his state, he could see his reality, he could see his circumstance, and he interpreted it as him being naked, and he went and hid. So that was where the eye of the mind opened. So yes, Jesus has come and he has restored us back to God. But now there are some reformation system that we must now relearn, and there are some things that we need to unlearn. One of those things we need to unlearn is seeing things with our physical eye, as opposed to what God has said. We need to unlearn it, and we now need to relearn how to communicate with God and how to access everything that God has for us through our faith. But now it's not just about our faith. There is another way in which homes continually to be cheated, especially in this day and time. For many of us, we have fasted. For many of us, we have prayed. For many of us, we studied the word. For many of us, we have strong belief systems, strong convictions in God. In fact, even in our state, we will not stop serving God. And with all of this, we are still not attaining that Edenic blessing that God has provided for the home. Why? I'll tell a story. I was reading the book of John chapter 4, and I saw that the Samaritan woman, she had told Jesus to give her water. Jesus said to her, if you knew who you were talking to, you will ask me for a cup and I will give you a spring of living water. Some translations calls it a well. Jesus is the well. Jesus is the fountain. Jesus is the spring. But that you have access to a well does not mean you can drink from the well. In the well of salvation, because remember we said that Jesus reconciled us back to God, and through Jesus we have access to everything that God bestowed upon man at creation. And in Jesus is everything that we need. Your prosperity is in him, your protection is in him, your healing is in him, your provision is in him. Everything you need for your life, for your family, for your destiny is in the well, which is Jesus. But that you have access to the well does not mean you have access to the water. Why? Because you need to draw. You need to fetch it and drink it. The book of Isaiah clearly stated that it is with joy that we draw from the well of salvation. In other words, joy is the fetcher. And this is one thing that the enemy continually steals from home. I put it to you that anytime there is a misunderstanding, quarrel, or whatever in your home, anytime that you as a husband is upset with your wife, anytime that you as a wife is upset with your husband, no matter how legit, how real, how valid your anger is, there is a breakthrough at the corner. And why God would want you to enter into the breakthrough and the blessings he has for you and your family, he cannot do anything if you don't follow his patterns. And the enemy knows this. So at that time where you need to enter, he will strike. As you have prayed, you have fasted, you have quoted scripture, you have confessed positively, but then the enemy is at the doorway and he just tickles you a little. Voila, you are angry. You begin to quarrel. You are quarreling with your husband. Husband is quarreling with the wife. There is malice in the home. And see, I know how this works because I'm married too. I know perfectly well how this works. Those anger and all of that, they are actually legit. You have a valid reason to be angry with your spouse. But there is a higher way. If you know this, you will be able to discern the works of the enemy and put him in his place. You will be able to discern the works of the enemy and put him in his place. One of the things I've decided in this season, nothing will steal my joy. And let me tell you, all of those things, when those quarrels and when your spouse or your partner is making you angry, begin to tell yourself, there's a place in the book of Solomon, I can't remember the particular scripture, that says, I see no fault in my spouse. So as you see your husband or as you see your wife making you upset, begin to tell yourself, I see no fault in my husband. If you're a man, tell yourself, I see no fault in my wife. Begin to quote that scripture. As you are doing that, the anger is dissipating. You are reconfigurating your emotions. You are reconfigurating your feeling. You are reconfigurating your mind. You tell yourself, no, this is a trick. I see no fault in my husband. I see no blame in my wife. You can sort out the issue at a later time. But see, all of those emotions, quarrel, malice, they can never be good for your home, even if legit. And so the enemy has robbed us of plenty blessings just because of this singular aspect. He comes at the nick of time and he steals our joy. I look at that Samaritan woman. Yes, a lot of us calls her an evangelist. But like I was saying, she asked Jesus for water, and Jesus never gave her that water. She actually did. Because when she asked Jesus for water, and Jesus said to her, where is your husband? Why? Because Jesus perceived that this woman cannot draw from this well because she has no joy. A woman who has been married to 4 husbands and is living with the 5th man who is not yet married is a broken woman. She cannot be whole. Her mind is fragmented. Various misconceptions, various wrong perceptions, she's hurt. And Jesus would have perceived this and would have told her, that's why he asked her, where is your husband? Because number one, just could sense that there is this woman's mind is fragmented. Number two, as a married woman, as a married man, if you're going to drink from the well of salvation, you must drink it as a couple. As it pertains to your home and Eden, if you are going to drink from the well, you must drink it as a couple. Jesus asked her, where is your husband? Because your husband is needed if you are going to access this well. Number two, your joy and your wholeness is needed if you're going to access this well. She never got to drink. And I keep questioning. The Bible did not tell us how, if she drank or not. But I know for at that point, maybe things were sorted out, we don't know. But for of what we know from what we read, and at the point that we read it, she didn't drink it. Your joy, your wholeness, your mind is very important. The state of your mind is very important if you're going to access the if you're going to access the well of salvation. And secondly, as a couple, as a married man or a married woman, you and your partner must drink from the well of salvation together. You know, one of the burdens of my heart really is to see homes in the pattern and the originality of what God has designed and created. We quote it all the time. Same God, he hasn't changed. From generation to generation, he has stayed constant. If God created Adam and Eve and put them in a garden with every resource, even though man fell, we have Jesus who has restored us. Then we, in your home, should have access to everything that you need. Your home must be in the similitude of the Garden of Eden. It's up to you as a parent, as a mother, as a father, to find the keys, to find the secrets, and use it to access all you need in that garden. And one of them we've discussed today is joy. My dear sister, my dear brother, joy is the fetcher. Don't let the enemy rob you. Perhaps he has robbed you in the future. Decide this moment to always maintain a posture of joy. Tell yourself, I see no fault in my husband. I see no fault in my wife. You can do it. You can talk about it at a later time when your emotions are down. But at the heat of the moment, begin to reconfigure your mind. I pray that, you would come to the light of all I am saying and begin to practice these things and watch the transformation that will begin to happen in your family. God is not glorified in you not accessing what he has freely given to you. So whatever we have to do, whatever role we have to play to access everything that he has made available for us, we will play it by the help of God. Thank you very much, everyone. And honestly, I pray for you. I pray for you with all of my heart over every home struggling to find peace and joy in their home. I pray that the Lord takes away every garment of reproach, every garment of shame, every garment of sadness, and replaces it with a garment of beauty, with a garment of praise, with a garment of joy. Switch to thanksgiving. Switch to praises, and watch how it will navigate your entire path. And for everyone watching me, every man, every woman, I ask that the Lord will give you beyond what I have said. The Lord will give you specific instructions and specific wisdom on how to access all that he has in store for you. God bless you. Do have a beautiful time ahead. I look forward to your comments and all that you have to add to this. See you next time. Bye.